What's up guys, welcome back to the channel for a review of another pedal that Guptech sent to me. This is the Grindr pedal, and if you're not familiar with Guptech, they're a small Canadian-based pedal company. I found them by researching another amp that I'm going to be demoing on the channel very soon, and I asked them if you'd be willing to partner up and do some content, and they said yeah, so here we are. Alright, so this is the PDEQ pedal that they make, and this is the one that I was originally reaching out to them to ask them about. And this is the one that I gave away one of these to one of you lucky subscribers. And the Grindr they added just sort of as a bonus ad for me to check out in the box. Now for transparency to you guys, they sent this to me to try out in exchange for this content that you're seeing. But as always, I'm gonna keep it real with you guys and you're gonna get my honest thoughts on this, and Guptech are seeing this for the first time being published to the public just like you guys. Okay, so essentially the Grindr offers up 20 decibels of clean boost, and it has a switch over on the left side here to toggle between enabling the bass and treble controls or bypassing it and using the other switch over here to toggle between the 33 mode or the GR mode. When it's switched over to the B mode, it bypasses the treble and bass control knobs, and it gives you either the fixed EQ sound of the 33 or the GR mode, depending on where you have that switch on the right-hand side set to. In P mode, it engages those two knobs and bypasses the 33 and GR presets so that the switch on the right side no longer does anything. Think of the BP switch sort of like a preset switch, and with it bypassed, you can either select from the GR or the 33 EQ presets. And with it in the P mode, the presets are ignored, and it lets you change the controls up here and get your own type sound. Got it? Good. Okay, let's go ahead and hear this thing. Now, I've got the Lizzy Hale Explorer here, and I'm plugged into the Victory Kraken, and it's going into the aux box with the Vintage 30 cabinet, and that's pretty much it. I used this combination at our show this past weekend, so I thought it would be good to just kind of use all the same equipment and get the best kind of representation of what I had on stage. I'll start with the crunch channel and play a little bit, and then I'll go over to the lead channel and play a little bit, both with and without the boost on. And then I'll meet you guys on the other side and we'll talk about how this thing did on the stage. Okay, so here are my thoughts on this pedal after spending some time with it here in the studio and on the stage. I think that the preset mode where you can control the bass and the treble is by far my preferred way to run this unit. I feel like in both the 33 and the GR mode, for how I have my stuff set up and the sound preferences that I have, it takes away too much low end and it pushes the mids into this sort of almost like a cocked wah pedal type sound that I think if you have like a really big deep sound coming from the amp or the cabinet naturally, I feel like that would probably be a better voicing than kind of what I have going on. So I do understand the scenarios where people would prefer both of these modes over here, but for how I have my sound set up and how my stuff sounds, I greatly prefer using the bass and treble to sort of put it exactly where I like the sound for both the low end and the top end to be. And I also found that at least with this amp and with the Nitro, once you take the level past maybe right around here, it starts to get really compressed and starts to lose some clarity. And it could just be that I've already got a lot of gain coming from the amp itself, and adding that much more from the pedal is just too much, and the sound sort of starts to kind of collapse onto itself and compress in a way that doesn't sound pleasing to me. But as long as you keep it right here, you know, around 1 o'clock-ish, it works really well. And also with the bass and treble controls, once those go kind of a little bit past right around that same area, 1 o'clock or so, they can also start to add to that compression in a way that is sort of unnatural sounding. So as long as you keep it, you know, if you're gonna really push this thing hard, keeping everything around noon or a little past noon, to my ears with my equipment, that's kind of where the limits are for this. And even at that point, it's throwing a lot of boost in front of the amp. So it's not like you're only getting, you know, a small amount of extra punch in the front. So that's kind of how I prefer to have it set, and that's how I ran it on stage. Speaking of the stage, it is time for the post-gig report. Now, like pretty much every piece of gear that I review on my channel, I take this stuff onto the stage with my 90s and 2000s rock cover band, and I see how these products hold up in the real world, in a real working musician's environment. And sometimes this stuff can sound really good and be easy to work with at home or in your studio, but for whatever reason, one reason or the other, it just doesn't work out in a live music situation. But luckily for us, the Grindr did really, really great at the show this weekend. Now, I had this pedal in front of the Kraken, like I mentioned, and I also had their PDEQ pedal in the loop, pushing the top end and the low end just a little bit. And the Grindr on the crunch channel of the Kraken was pretty great. And I used this with the in the preamp mode engaged, like I mentioned earlier, and it gave just a bit more kind of a beefier grunt with the boost and a little bit extra push in the top end. It didn't need a lot, but it was just a little bit extra for a little bit extra bite when I engaged the gain from the boost pedal. So I think that your amp and your cab setup will probably play a big part in how this pedal would work best for you, but it's great that if either mode on the right-hand side doesn't give you the sound that you're after, you can fall back on the preset mode and use the two EQ knobs to get the sound exactly where you want it to be. Okay, so who is this pedal for? I think that if you already have a low to moderate gain amp and you want to throw something in front that can add a lot more boost to get more gain, this unit really does the trick quite well. It sounded really good in front of the Jubilee in the crunch mode, which doesn't really have a whole lot of gain, and it was able to really kind of bring that into a much higher gain sound. And as you heard on the Kraken, on the lead channel, it still enhances a really high gain preamp amplifier sound. So I think that even if you're not using a ton of gain, it can work really well, and you can use the bass and treble to sort of fine tune how you want the structure to be. And if you're using a high gain amp, maybe you want to pull out just a little bit of low end you can just kind of tweak this bass knob right there just a little bit and sort of tighten up the gain by pulling the bass back and maybe bumping the treble up just a little bit there. If it didn't have the preamp mode and the bass and treble controls, I think for my own personal setup, this really would not have made it past our sound check. But again, with the addition of those controls, it makes this a much more universally appealing pedal to way more players. The preset mode really does allow it to work with a much wider array of amplifiers and cabinets and things like that. And also at less than $100, I think that for a hand-built unit, it undercuts a lot of other boost pedals on the market, and it also gives you a higher quality pedal than some of these less expensive mass-produced units from China. If you want to grab one of these or any of the other dozens and dozens of different pedals that Guptech build, I will have a link down in the description, as well as some affiliate links to a few of these things that I've used to make this video happen. And again, those affiliate links, they do not cost you guys anything extra, and they really do help out, help support what I do here on my channel. Another big thanks to Guillaume up at Guptech for sending this pedal out to show you guys, and as always, a big thanks to all of you for hanging out with me to take a look at this pedal. If you enjoyed it and you're not subscribed, feel free to help my channel grow by clicking the subscribe button down there, giving the like button a hit if you enjoyed this, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.